Let's discuss Andor episodes 1 through 4. This is our early reaction, not an official review. We're not going to be getting too much into just sort of broadly about the story, just to give you a taste of what it's like, but not too many details and definitely no spoilers on this. So I want to launch right in and say that this is the most, and other people have said this, it's the most adult Star Wars that has ever been made. There are almost zero laughs or humor. There are moments of levity, but there's not any haha humor that just kind of, breaks the moment. There's no, there is a droid and it's in there and it's very practical, but it's not a cute droid that does cute things or goofy things that you cut to. No, it doesn't happen. This is a serious show I think kids will actually be bored with this show. And whereas Kenobi was really, I think that was the thing that really, Kenobi was just god awful. Mm-hmm. Might be the worst Star Wars produced by, after Disney took over. This is very different in the sense that it's much more serious. The stakes are very high. It starts with Cassian Andor as a kid. And for the first 3 episodes, you're seeing like young Cassian Andor's story as a child and how he's effectively saved and kind of why he has something of a chip on his shoulder. And you're seeing that reflected with his current day story. He's involved in effectively a barroom brawl where 2 people are killed, and then he's being sought after by authorities. The authorities aren't even the Empire. It's basically the company that's employed these blue-collar workers, effectively blue-collar workers working on I believe they're working on starships. I can't tell from the exact shape, but they're all working on starships. It's just the whole tone of it is different. It's even more serious than Rogue One in terms of its approach. And my understanding is it's being produced by the people who made the Bourne Identity series of movies.
Yeah, the writer and the director.
Right. The other thing about this show, it is the best looking Star Wars since I can't even remember. It's epic in scale. It's things where you'll see, and also just even the sound design. There's a scene where a TIE fighter kind of flies very low over a landscape, and you really feel it. You feel the scale, the size of it. Everything just feels more real and more lived in. And what I also loved about it is there was a bridge kind of between the prequels and the original trilogy, a much more definitive bridge. In fact, we see, Cassian travel to at least one other world. Well, 2 worlds in the first 4 episodes. It's a different look, and it's definitely Star Wars. I would say that the starship design is better than anything we saw in the sequel trilogy. Like, just hands down better. Design of starships. Everything feels way more real. Real sets. Real. There's an action scene where there's a shootout with involving Stellan Skarsgård's character and Cassian Andor. The shootout in like a factory where stuff is going wrong. It's pretty amazing shootout. I mean, it's right out of some crime film or Western that I thought was great. And I really think that the thing that sets this apart is more than anything, the seriousness, the level of seriousness. There's another thing too. They go to Coruscant in I believe it's
episode 2.
Is it episode 2? And you start to meet like sort of basically what amounts to the Empire's surveillance team, right? And and a quick side note, the casting of everybody down to the most minor character is amazing. A lot of British accents, which I love because that feels Star Wars. A lot of, both, protagonists, on the Rebel side and on the Imperial side, British accents. Man, some of these Imperials are so evil just by the way they look. It just reminds me of old school Star Wars, that aspect of it. The other thing was you meet Mon Mothma and her husband, and you kind of get a little bit of the political machinations of what's happening on Coruscant. And it feels like there's a car that Mon Mothma kind of gets, she pulls up in this vehicle, and it looks like some 1930s thing, something out of 1930s Germany is all I'll say. Am I wrong?
No, absolutely.
It's not.
I think that's intentional too.
It's totally intentional, like 1930s Germany. It's got this sort of like this is Germany in a certain era, and that's what Coruscant looks like. Very cold. We've seen the vibrant, alive Coruscant of the prequels. This is different. This is a cold, much more imperial looking Coruscant that has it's less colorful is what I'll say. And they really get into politically what's going on. In the episode 4, Mon Mothma's, there's a dinner that's sort of a surprise dinner that her husband's surprising her, and there's some politicians that are showing up, and she's got some side deals going on. She was maybe the Nancy Pelosi of her time. In any case, no, I say that joking. But like before we get to your thoughts, Alan, there's some weaknesses in the show. I think the main weakness is there's a reason they're dropping 3 episodes on the 21st of September. And the reason is the show, it's not even like self-contained episodes. It's like, well, here's a good place to stop. The first 3 episodes is effectively kind of one story, right? And the episodes are about 30 to 40 minutes each. So it's not like your 50-minute version. And a quick side note also, this is, and people are going to be shocked I'm saying this, the chairs in the show are amazing. I literally burst out laughing when I saw Stellan Skarsgård's character is on this shuttle, and you see the chairs. The chairs are embedded into the cabin like what would happen in real life on a shuttle of a starship. They would not just be IKEA chairs sitting around like in the Kenobi show, which was so cheap. Everything looks lived in. Everything looks real. Everything looks practical. It might be what it's the best looking Star Wars we've seen in a long time. And it's just very different.
Well, that begs the question then, how is the Empire's dental plan compared to the Rebellion's?
And that was the other thing I was going to point out. The teeth in the show are great. Despite the fact that there are a lot of British actors, kudos to Lucasfilm on the casting of people based on their good teeth. We'll get into it more, but I just want to say this is I think the weakness of the show, I think this is a big problem. Whereas a show like House of the Dragon, each episode is one self-contained story with some loose ends, because that's the larger arc going over the season. This show, Andor, every episode, it just sort of stops. And then, okay, that's why you have to, the first 3 episodes is just one story. It doesn't even stop at like even a good break. It's like, okay, this is a good place to end the script. Who knows what the scripts were like? What would have been better is if they just had one 90-minute opening show and then 40-minute episodes going forward. I think that might have served it better. And the 4th episode does the same thing. It just sort of cuts it off. I don't like this. I think this is weak. If you're going to do long form storytelling and engage an audience, I think what you want to do is tell at least something story that has an arc that comes to a completion at the end of that show with some threads to continue the overall story.
I mean, I'll give you an example of that. The episode 1, I would suggest this emphatically. Watch the first 2 episodes in one sitting. Do not stop at the first one. The first episode felt kind of like, there's a disorientation that occurs when you start a new series. There's like trying to figure out who these people are, where they are, what's happening. And in that first episode, if you stop it there, you're still going to wonder, well, what is going on? And then right when you get into the second episode, it just starts answering all those questions, and you get a feel for what this series truly is. So yeah, sit through both episodes. Don't stop.
Yeah, there's that. But what are your overall impressions? The thing is this, I'm down for this. You know what it felt like? Yeah. Actually, here's what it felt like. I've read a bunch of the Star Wars Expanded Universe novels, and I really like some of them. Are very good. This felt like a novel. It felt like this is for adults. This isn't young adult. This is for adults. it's political intrigue. It's there are, you know, there's a heist that's in the planning stages, a very big heist. I don't think everybody's being completely honest with each other. A lot of the characters, Stellan Skarsgård's character is Luthen Rael, and he's got, I feel there's ulterior motives at play with him. Nothing specific's been revealed, but he has a dual personality. He's someone to Cassian Andor. He is someone else on Coruscant. And he has a connection to Mon Mothma. The woman who plays Mon Mothma is very good.
Yeah.
And then there's an actress. Her name is Denise Go. She plays Dedra Miro, working for the Imperials. She's really good. She's lethal. And what's weird is like, okay, this is also a slow burn, but not a slow burn in the way of like Rings of Power, right? Okay, so we're watching Rings of Power. We're watching this Rings of Power. For some reason, I don't care. And in this, while it is a slow burn, I'm invested in these characters. I'm invested in Cassian Andor. What is going on with, Luthen Rael, Dedra Miro? What is happening with her? And then there's this group of rebels that you meet, that Cassian Andor meets up with, that are planning something big, and I don't even think they know everything.
Yeah.
So I do like that there's duality to a lot of the characters. They have to keep up appearances. I like the fact that there's not just evil in the Empire. There's like this company that is making the starships, that they have their own security detail, and they wear these suits with orange piping. They even like comment on it. Oh, I added the piping, like the design. It's like, okay, give me a break. But yeah, like the tone of this whole thing is dead serious. Now, it's Star Wars, and I know this because of the shapes of the ships, but you literally could just have changed all the ships, and this doesn't feel like Star Wars, in the sense that I feel like Star Wars is a blend of romance, humor, action,
and
adventure.
mysticism.
What's that?
Mysticism too.
Mysticism, spirituality, and sort of like all woven together. This is not that. This is an even more serious than Rogue One. Yeah. So if you like that tone, I think you're going to be down for it. I'm sort of like, I'm kind of mixed on it. Like, okay, but it's so serious. You have a whole scene where Mon Mothma and her husband are talking about the seating arrangement of a dinner because there are politicians she has issues with and she doesn't want to talk to them. And then he even says to her, he's like, oh, well, I'll just sit at the fun side of the table, which totally tells me. I do think that the show takes shots at both the left and the right. Yeah. I do believe, like, especially with Mon Mothma, she's like a very not fun progressive. So that's,
I mean, the ultimate question is, it woke? And I feel like they're not playing their hand if it is. It feels like, this is kind of the fascism that we're used to from the original series. A lot of what's going on here is everyone's being watched. There's surveillance everywhere. The Empire is trying to quell any kind of rebellion. And I do look, there's themes to the fact that where the Empire is right now is they've become too complacent, and they're not, they feel like they've won, and they're making mistakes, and now the rebellion is starting to capitalize on those mistakes. And this is what I like about the series. It's very complex compared to what you've seen in Kenobi, for crying out loud. I think good and evil, there are a lot of lines being crossed. They introduce some Imperial characters that are like, well, I'm a little sympathetic to the position they're in. And then the rebellion, there's a lot of distrust. They don't know, no one knows who they really can trust. And that plays out throughout these first 4 episodes. And I like the fact that I feel like there's a lot more thought behind the story. There's a lot more thought behind characters, how characters are developed, the interactions between characters, not just good and bad, but between themselves, and the production values. It's like, compare this to Kenobi, and it's a million times better than Kenobi, and it makes you wonder, how did Kenobi ever get made? Who greenlit it, and why did they not even get a tenth of the budget that this show got? So I'm definitely invested. I think this is intriguing storytelling. I agree with you. I do want moments of levity, and it doesn't look like we're going to get it. And I don't think Rogue One really had a whole lot of moments of levity. I think the best thing you can say about Andor, it is so different than everything else that Disney Plus is putting out. That this is probably the closest thing that Disney Plus has to, House of the Dragon or Westwood. That quality and that style of storytelling, and I think it's just worth watching because it is different, and it is something new, and it's going in some very interesting directions that you wouldn't expect coming out of the Disney content machine.
Wait, did you say Westworld? Did you say
Yeah.
Westworld?
Yeah,
it has that, like, this is not for kids. This is a show for adults that want to follow all the political intrigue.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little, the episode 4 bugged me a little bit. There's just way too much distrust of Cassian that just is just like, oh my God, just.
But I think it's earned.
Trust him.
But I think it's earned. I think
just a sec.
For him just to show up and everyone say, oh, here's a new member of the crew for this heist we're about to go on, and then just accept him. There has to be this level of trust, and again, because of the nature of the way the Empire is set up, where there's surveillance everywhere, this guy could easily be a spy, and I think that's earned as opposed to forced in, where Rings of Power does. I think Rings of Power forces in these grand moments that just feel out of place because they needed it for a narrative purpose.
Yeah, and what kind of kicks off everything at the beginning of episode 1, you see how cold-blooded Cassian is, but then you also see the motivations for why he is the way he is. Yeah, and I like that. This definitely goes. What Andor does is goes deeper layers, and what I think it's Lucasfilm should be embarrassed for how bad Kenobi was. If Kenobi was this level of seriousness and this level of production, I think we wouldn't have hated on that show so much. I mean, you can't fix that script, but if at least took itself more seriously. There's also there's no Jedi. There's no lightsabers. There's no force sensitive people. None of that. It's effectively blue collar workers around the galaxy, not forced labor, but just trying to eke out a living, building effectively the starships for the Empire, and they're oppressed. So what happens to these worlds, right? What happens to, and it gets into, there's nothing woke in it, but there's definitely some commentary. There's, you see young Cassian grew up on this world that was pillaged through its mines. You see this sort of vast landscape that's just been gutted for its resources, physically just like gutted, like and just destroyed, which destroys the way of life of the people of his native world. And so, like, that's just a little commentary. It's not forced. It's not even spoken about. I'm talking about it more than was mentioned in the show. It's just a part of the show. Hey, the Empire mined this stuff. It kind of destroyed this world, but whatever. Cost of doing business, and that's it. It's not a big deal, but it is sort of a commentary on resources on our own planet, right? It's a commentary, but not in the way that's like so on the nose and what we've come to expect. That's been really annoying. Just a lot of preachiness. There's no preaching.
Let me bring up this cast is very diverse. It crosses spectrum except for Asians, but it works because they don't call attention to it. This has not been a talking point of this series, nor the promotion of this series.
Right.
And so you just accept the fact that, not every single person on this cast is white. It's not a white cast. It's a diverse cast. And, and again, because they're not calling attention to it, it feels like it works.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, like they're not like calling out, look at the diversity. It's just, it's just well cast actors.
Mm-hmm.
It's just well cast actors.
Yeah, across the board. It's just great casting choices.
Yeah, like the character Dedra Miro has like this kind of rival who's a black officer, and they're both really good actors chewing the scenery, going at each other about ways that they should be dealing
bureaucracy,
with
basically.
Yeah, bureaucracy. It's almost like parts of it even felt like this is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Parts of it felt like an office drama set in the Empire. Like all the office politics of the mid-level officers, not the generals sending out, fleets of starships. No, these are the mid-level officers and what they've got to deal with. So in a way, it's kind of like you're dealing with the blue-collar workers scattered around the galaxy, just the regular people trying to get by and make a living. Then you've got sort of mid-level blue-collar, almost at the same level, mid-level or lower level imperial workers and kind of what they have to deal with. And that's what the show is about.
Yeah,
I will say
I'll also say this about characters. The great thing about the story and the characters is everyone has a vested interest in the story. And they all come at it from different directions, which just speaks to the broadness of speaks to how well this story is put together. And I'm very optimistic about this one much more than others. I feel like we're going to get consistent filmmaking throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah, it just feels bigger, more epic in scale. Mm-hmm. It feels like they spent a lot more money on this. It feels like also, it feels like this, if they had edited it differently, maybe it could have been a movie. I think that they're just going, I just don't like the fact that if this is going to be episodic, make the episodes have their own stories with just a little, with just the long story arc sitting out there. I don't want to see an 8-hour movie, necessarily.
That's what we're going to get. I'll just say this. I think the foundation of this show is very strong. And I'm much more confident that it's going to succeed and end well versus She-Hulk, where the foundation of that show is good, but you can tell that it could fail at any moment. It just takes one wrong thing and the house of cards falls.
Well, quick thing back to She-Hulk, because Paul Chato, Call Me Chato, go to his channel. He just did a review of episode 5. We talked about it earlier, and he said that what people like is familiarity. They like the show does this, blah blah blah, whatever. Back to everything is all good at the end, right? There's chaos, then everything, and it's like She-Hulk has not gotten in that groove yet. It started to, and then it's kind of gone off. All right, so and again, I think they should have dropped all the She-Hulk episodes at once. I think that would have helped it, and maybe this could help with Andor as well. But our early reaction is, Alan, do you recommend it? Where are you standing in terms of
definitely
rank it?
Rank it. I mean, it is probably the best Disney Plus show, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, it's definitely, it's even more serious than, say, The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Right. So,
we got a lot of chats here. So
I still a little mixed on it. I'm just a little still mixed on the show. I'm like, okay, I'm waiting but the slow burn buildup is really intriguing. It's weird because Rings of Power kind of did the same thing. It's like this, it's like slow moving, but I don't care. This is slow moving and I'm invested. Yeah. And there are, especially in those first 3 episodes, there's some really good action. And then
so are you saying that you're hesitant because of Disney's track record up until this point, or hesitant generally speaking?
Maybe the track record. I just like, okay, show me something big. Like it's building, but I will say, based on what I've seen, it's very good. It's very good, and I will continue to watch it. Let's go to comments here from people. I'm going to start from the bottom. Alan got that Disney cash. This is Chicago Box. If it stays away from everything else and focuses on the old conversations we used to have about the Empire and what it took, could be okay. Yeah, it definitely focuses on aspects of the Empire we have not seen. Same thing with the Rebellion. Same thing with so you've kind of got 3 main stories, which is the sort of beginnings of the rebels, which are basically just thieves and criminals. They're thieves and criminals. And Cassian is a thief. And then you've also got sort of the Empire, and then you have the politicians and kind of what they're doing. So they're kind of three main storylines that obviously will all converge. Adam Iglesias, who's a member, thank you. I won't give this show a chance, even though it's a lot better of a story than previous shows. I won't give it a chance. This is not Star Wars. It feels terrible. Looks nothing like Star Wars. You're right. I mean, that was kind of my point I was trying to make. It doesn't feel like traditional Star Wars, right? It feels more like one of the novels that I've read that has a much more serious tone to it. It takes itself very seriously. Like being in the Empire, it's a job and not an easy one. No one has any easy jobs in this world.
I mean, this is Rogue One. I mean, if you liked Rogue One, I think you're gonna like this. I think Rogue One. We brought up the reasons why Rogue One seems out of place, because it doesn't deal with the Force. It doesn't deal with, the Jedi. It's just a story of the lower class community of Star Wars, basically, the working class.
Holy Hand Grenade says the diversity casting may not be a talking point, but the fact that the entire show is a commentary on a Trumpian world is they just can't help themselves. I don't think it's a comment on that. I think that part of it is even a comment on progressives on the left. It's not. I didn't see that was just some actress making a comment to sound smart. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get the sense that this is Trumpian at all. I feel like, and I again, it could be hidden and it could be buried down deep, but I don't think it is, propaganda. I don't think it is a commentary of today, which, again, that could show itself later down the road. There's 24 episodes coming, so you never know.
Is it 24 over 2 seasons? Is that right?
Over 2 seasons. Two seasons of 12 episodes.
Okay,
and
good.
They are filming the second season right now.
Yeah, it's it felt more like 1930s Germany. Mm-hmm. And I think it definitely projects that. When we get to Coruscant, you kind of see the tension in Coruscant. People are hiding and keeping secrets, right? Yeah. They have ulterior motives. It seems like every character has an ulterior motive and is kind of hiding something. The
prequels were very much about politics as well. I mean, there's a lot of commentary on politics, but I don't think it was a commentary necessarily of a particular party at that time.
Yeah. Bill T is a member. Sounds like they are focused on the story and not concerned about virtue signaling. Kara, who's a member. Thank you. Alan, I don't care about diverse cast if there is a story. Yeah, you're not going to care about the cast in this. And also the fact that the actors are actually all very good. I would say that was one of the things that stood out. It's like because I think that was a weakness of Kenobi. I thought the young girl who played Leia, I thought was terrible. I don't know. That was a huge. Even the kid who played Luke was not great.
I'm very impressed with what they are doing with Mon Mothra.
Mon Mothra? Mon Mothra? Why do you say Mon Mothra?
I knew I was going to say that. Mon Mothma.
Well, that makes sense that you would make that mistake, I guess.
Yeah. And then, but they're putting a spin on her that I really appreciate.
Right. Dave T. Geek, the problem with Star Wars is that too much world building actually kills it. World building and things like Wikipedia undercut the mythological, timeless aspect of the original films. Yeah, good point. Okay, wait. I'm trying to. Holy Handgrids. I find it hard to believe, Chris. I'll continue to hear you out, but I can't give Disney my support. Don't blame you. I don't blame you.
I mean, again, the track record. Disney's track record is probably the thing that's going to hurt this show the most.
Yeah, Thomas too. Like, I have zero interest in Andor. It has none of the things that drew me to Star Wars. I'm also one of the only people I know that hated everything about Rogue One. Yeah, I didn't love Rogue One. I thought the Darth Vader stuff was cool, but I thought it was weak and kind of thrown at the last minute. It seemed tacked on. So,
you're not going to like this then.
Yeah. And Paulie, Latino Slant, smash that like button. And Paulie's a member. I didn't know that. That's great, Paulie. Thank you. Wow, Wim Tim. Y'all got me intrigued. Star Wars for adults is what I want. Can I please have an rated R Vader movie where he kills everything? See, that would be great. I would love to see like a rated R, like movie with Jedi where they don't hold anything back.
Mhm.
Limbs. The fact that there wasn't one limb cut off in the Star Wars sequel, there's pretty much a limb cut off every Star Wars movie
Mhm.
previous to Disney taking hold of it, and then they just didn't do that. I think you're going to hear a complaint that kids are not going to like this show. Andor, kids will not like it.
Yeah.
Fear the Turtle, 21, a member. I will probably check it out because I like Diego Luna and Rogue One, but I can't understand why they put so much money into a show about Andor and not a beloved character like Kenobi. Yeah, if the Kenobi show had this tone and production value, we would it would change the conversation. Like I'm like, my mind is because the Kenobi show should have been dour and depressing and sad and tragic, all of those things.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Oh God.
Well, the main difference is the Kenobi show was given to the hands of people who didn't know how to make a TV show. You know, Andor is given in the hands of seasoned veterans who know how to make a movie, who know how to tell stories. And that's the biggest difference. And you definitely want to give more money to people who know what to do with it than who don't.
Infinite Main, the best part of Rogue One was the blind Asian man. Is he coming back? I didn't notice, but
I doubt it.
Saw Gerrera is coming back.
Yeah, but I think Don Yoon's character was. I think they came across him in Rogue One, so I don't think there's a history there.
Well, Saw Gerrera's in it. He has not been in the first 4 episodes. Solomon Thornton. So it is basically the political side of Star Wars that George Lucas wanted to expand on. Yes, it is. The Chicago Box. I just can't get excited about Star Wars anymore, even if it's great. It sucks how ruined it is for me. Holy Hungry. It's been confirmed to be a commentary on Trump. Well, I'm telling you, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
It was only a comment from an actress. Why not just tell a Star Wars story instead? Disney, Lucasfilm, that's why. Utter crap. It's more a comment on history in 1930s Germany is what it felt like to me. It didn't feel like Trump in any aspect. There's no like, the emperor doesn't come out and say, you know, we're going to build the greatest Starfleet. You just wait. We'll have Death Stars, Star Destroyers.
It'll be huge.
It'll be huge. We'll have a huge Starfleet of Star Destroyers. And I'm going to hide them on this planet underwater just in case one of my clones gets killed. Okay? All right. Kenobi sneaking Leia out under his jacket is everything you need to know about Disney Star Wars. That was one of the worst. I burst out laughing. I thought it was so dumb because it's like a Little Rascals gag out of like a 1930s comedy. But someone needs to cosplay that at a convention. Next big convention, I think I'm not going to New York Comic Con. I was going to go, I'm not going. I will be at LA Comic Con. I got to find a way to like cosplay that. I just need to borrow someone's
child. But you're complaining that there's no humor. I mean, that's the humor you're going to get if they put.
No. The humor there. This show is really devoid of humor. There are moments of levity, but not anything overtly funny. Anonymous, is Andor another dreary, nihilistic show? Yes. Alan, it's nihilistic?
Yep.
Fletcher Williams, if Alan says it's not woke, it's woke. All right. Gore's Trump, haha, says Latino Slam. And Patrick Lemire, Chris's Trump Chris's Trump is decent. What am I doing? Now that I'm aware of it now, I'm doing terrible. Solomon Thornton, actors should be taught what to say and what not to say, because if they say something stupid like the cast of Rings of Power, it kills the show. You're right, Solomon. It's it kills it for me sometimes. And what's funny is the actress who played Princess Diza is one of the best parts of Rings of Power. She adds humor and a little bit of gravitas
and life.
What's that? Life, where like, the show is so dreary.
She brings energy and life to it. It's what you're saying about Andor. It needs moments of hope and positivity. That's what she does for Rings of Power. I don't think there's a character like that in Andor.
Luther Talbert, a member. I was worried when one of the actresses for Andor brought up Trump. At least in the first 4 episodes, we've seen a third of the series. it's not there. Oh yeah, John Manalang, dead on. It really sounds like a Shadows of the Empire like story. Absolutely. Shadows of the Empire was like, first of all, I love the video game. I bought the soundtrack. It was everything except a movie. Jake Skywalker says Orange Troopers. They them versus and/or, says Metal Clergy. There's nothing like that. I didn't notice that there were any. No one. Here's what I like about the show. No one talks about their sexuality. There may, in fact, be a gay character. I didn't. No one called it out.
It's not germane to the plot. That's the big
It's not
thing.
germane to the plot. Nobody cares, and it doesn't. It's not in there. Birdman for $4.99. Chris, thank you so much for recommending Save the Cat. Absolutely love it. You guys are awesome. Keep doing your thing. Yeah, Save the Cat is a book. If you intend to be a screenwriter or even just a writer, read the book Save the Cat. You can also get the audiobook version of that. Ken Bogus for $5 says, I think the most diverse show that doesn't feel forced is Cobra Kai. Love that show. It should just be organic and not called out and not like you're not saving lives. Look, TV and movies have been diverse since the 70s and even before that. Less before that, but really the 70s was just like, we're just going to do this, but we're just not going to say anything. So, yeah, Jake Skywalker, we must be cautious. Great. That's good, man. Isn't it a bad call if you can even get hooked on the first episode? When did TV shows get so bad? Yeah, it's like I'm 4 episodes in and I'm like, okay, I want to know what happens. Like the deliberate sort of slow burn is I really wish Kenobi was this show. Like I wish just put Kenobi in this show with the same production value and the same tone would have been exactly right for Kenobi after having, thrown the galaxy into chaos.
Yeah. It seems like television nowadays is, you should see the show because I made it.
Oh my God. Holy hand grenades. Disney got to Chris too? No! He was supposed to free Alan from their grasp, not join them. I had to really, yeah. And so here we go. Chris, the chair police, Gore, says holy hand grenades. No, but okay. If you can't get the chairs right on a space shuttle, you have failed. The chairs in Andor, and I will say this, all the production value, you're going to go, oh, wow. So all the money went to the salaries of Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor instead of the actual show. And then in this show, they just hired decent actors, like Forrest Whitaker and Stellan Skarsgård, and obviously Diego Luna are the most, notable. We've seen them in other things, right? But yeah, mostly just really good actors. I don't know that I'm going to get to all these chat comments here because we have a lot of other films to talk about. John Manaling, very serious, stakes are very high. Welp, I'm sold. All I get from current Star Wars stuff, Mando, Andor, etc., is the Star Wars universe is full of angry orphans, says not the Batman. I'm gonna go through.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a chairist. I'm definitely a chairist. Chris, what is the name of the book that eases people into Hollywood? You talked about it on Wednesday. It's called Setiquette, and it's written by Paul Salamoff. There you go. Fletcher Williams, but are there more strong women of power that tell everyone what to do? No. In fact, the woman that is in the Empire, her character is a subordinate. There are a few women that are in quote positions, but it's not, it's all over the map.
Yeah. Well, she's marginalized because she's inexperienced, not because she's a woman.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we already got to that one. Super duper Giles for $5. Chris hating on Mormons? What about diversity? He's a Mormon. He's got more fantasy writing talent in his pinky toe than the entire Rings of Power team. I'm not hating on Mormons. I'm saying it explains much of the religious tone of Rings of Power. And I think it's just overused. So yeah. God, you know what? There's just I'm not going to get to all these comments. Alan, could you filter the comments for a second, and we'll come back to them.
Here's a good one.
Okay.
What do you think of the dialogue?
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I thought it was well written. It's Tony Gilroy. He wrote it. Did he write all the episodes?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. And how's the dialogue? Disney has yet to get that right, says Scott. It's good. It's good. Yeah, it's and Drew says, is it woke? The question we are all here for. I'll say this, it's not overtly woke. We mentioned earlier that there's a planet that's been pillaged, mined, which affects the locals, but they don't talk about it. Like, God, if only the Empire hadn't come here and mined our planet and destroyed our way of life. They're so evil. No one ever says something stupid like that. It's just part of the story. So are there messages? Sure. But is it overt? No. No more overt than anything else you see, right? Yeah. Like, so. Oh,
yeah.
And Nicritic TV, it was never supposed to be just for adults. Well, they just don't get it. Yeah, it's going to throw people for a loop. The tone of the show, I think, is going to surprise people. And any kids watching will be bored.
Yeah, and I'll say it again. If you did not like Rogue One, you're not going to like this series.
Right. So.
Oh, we do have a super chat, by the way.
Okay, cool. CD Stein 69 for $9.99. Would love to see more of the expanded universe, like Tales of the Bounty Hunters or Shadows of the Empire, or do some great side character stories that people are actually interested in. Not going to disagree with that comment. Yeah, I'd love to see. It just shows you kind of the range, I guess. Whether this will have broad appeal, my feeling is that when you look at the ratings, Kenobi will still get bigger ratings. One, because people wanted to see that story, and people wanted to see both Hayden and Ewan McGregor back as those characters, right? So, yeah, I'm trying to get to. I'm going to get to all these. Okay, we're cutting it off here. VDR, I'm not even a Star Wars fan, but you're selling me on this, Chris. Yeah, like that's the thing that struck me as I'm watching this. I'm like, does this even need to be Star Wars? The only way we know it's Star Wars is because the shape of the ships. Like there's TIE fighters and there's familiar ships, but this could have been something else. But we all know where it's going, right? It's leading into Rogue One eventually. So there we go. Going to blaze through these comments. We're going to switch gears and talk about some other stuff. And then we'll come back to talk about Andor later. Ramina Jones, environmental destruction has been a part of sci-fi since inception. How can that just be woke? I'm not saying, Ramina, first of all, great comment on that. Dune comments on that. Dune is effectively about colonizers coming into a planet to pillage the resources. It's a thread in science fiction. What I'm saying is, what woke does is just like points it out. It's sort of underneath the surface, and it's underneath the surface here, and that's a good thing. That's what I'm trying to explain that. That's like people are sort of conflating that. I think woke is when you're being lectured about it, right? This is just part of the story. And Ramina Jones, thank you. That is Dune. In fact, Frank Herbert started as a journalist studying ecology. He studied life in the desert and wrote about it. Dune is like his first novel. So, yeah, but you're right, Ramina. Great point. Thank you for that. That's the point of the day. Thank you. Amanda Nowicki. Yes, but where are all the gay and non-binary people in Andor? It's just not mentioned. There is a couple, like there are two lovers. Something goes bad between them. But it's not, and as it should be, they're not characters. They're just not. It doesn't matter, right? They could be gay. We don't know because we're meeting a lot of characters in this universe. I mean, Mon Mothma is married, has a husband. Although I think there's going to be trouble in paradise there.
The husband's not so good.
So there is hope. Yes, there is. The droid in Rogue One was probably the best in Disney Star Wars. I would agree. Fletcher Williams says, what's with all the shows doing the when the were children trope? What?
Oh yeah, when they were children. So
when they were children. Yeah. You see it in so many shows now. Yeah, I mean, it's really just the first 3 episodes. You kind of get Cassian's, and actually I think is important to like why he is who he is and why he kind of has like a mission, like his troubled life as a kid. I don't want to go into it.
Yeah, and it is a commentary of the Empire and the basically the raping of a planet of its resources. Am I allowed to say that?
I don't know. You are. Let's see. XGamerX for 5. Thank you for that. Hey, Chris, a few months back with Gary, you mentioned an animated movie, violent and trippy. I forgot the name. Please help. Oh, man. Do you have any more details? What did I say? Was it
The Spine of Night?
Oh, The Spine of Night. Look up The Spine of Night. And we've interviewed the filmmakers on this channel. So after you check that out, The Spine of Night, it's like a heavy metal comic brought to life. Tons of full frontal nudity. Alan loved it because of the penis. A lot of penis, a lot of breast. Nick, yeah, a lot of nudity, incredibly violent, like a heavy metal comic brought to life. Yeah. The Spine of Night. I believe it's on video on demand.
And you interviewed Joe Manganiello and Lucy Lawless as well.
Yeah. Death by Snoo Snoo. Star Wars will never be resurrected to anything close to its original glory. Agreed.
Yeah.
It is deader than dead. Wrong time, wrong place, wrong execs. Can't argue that point. We're going to switch gears here for a second, but Amanda Wiki has a question. When does Attack of the Dock come out? Attack of the Dock is premiering at the Tucson Film Festival. The weekend of October 13th, I will be in Tucson. So, Alan, I'll be doing the show from the hotel room there. So look for you'll have to run the show, Alan. So I'll be in Tucson for that. If you are in Tucson, tickets go on sale. I think shortly. Just go. It's Film Fest Tucson is the name of the festival. So check that out. My buddy Herb Stratford runs it, and he's like, I want to show your movie. I showed it to him, and so it's premiering there. Will literally be done like just in time to screen there. Then we're going to do some other screenings, and it looks like the Blu-ray will hit before the end of the year, but I don't want 100% promise because I checked with the Blu-ray, the place that does Blu-rays, and they say they're having supply chain issues for DVDs that are doing low runs because we're only going to press like a few thousand, and that's it. A few thousand, that's it. Then it's going to come out on VOD. Super Duper Giles says, rate all Star Wars from worst to best by the quality of the actor's teeth. Well, I would say Kenobi would be at the bottom of that list.